Okay. Hi, how are you? I'm going to
Great.
take just a few minutes to chat with you and then I'll kind of jump into all of the good questions.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit more about you, how you got into real estate, kind of how you've built your real estate business, and especially the marketing pillars that you use to create those leads that you close.
That is a short question, but a very, very long answer. Uh, Basically, I got into the business around 2010, 2011. I had a family friend who owned a small like boutique brokerage in the Orange County area of California. I'm not, where are you located?
In Topeka, Kansas.
Okay, got it. I just kind of jumped on as kind of a office manager, assistant role. There was only a couple agents in the office. Eventually, we closed that office down. We joined another local brokerage in Orange County, kind of jumped around, and then really settled in with me and two other agents as kind of a partnership. Obviously, I eventually got licensed. We kind of worked as a partnership of the three of us. From there, I moved geographically, but still a commute wise away. And then eventually just started to establish myself in that new geographic location, a little more independent, just kind of naturally. Like I was the local person for our team in that area. And it just kind of expanded just for me personally, because I was kind of doing the bulk of that marketing there and the bulk of the agent service or the client servicing there. So eventually we kind of all just went our separate directions just for various reasons. We were in different parts of our career in the business and we went different directions. So then that's when I kind of went all in on my geographic region, which isn't the Chino Hills area of California. It's kind of on the border of LA County, Orange County. We're in San Bernardino County, and another county is Riverside. So we're right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of all this action where we're at. So that's kind of where I've taken the bulk of my business, and I am currently. So some of the way I kind of have done business since really we had this partnership is just a lot of one, farming has been huge. And that's where I kind of learned how to farm and how to be consistent with things like that. And then just kind of repeat referral clients. So just servicing those clients over years and years and years, and then ultimately either utilizing them on their next sale or purchase, or they refer me to other friends or family members for buying and selling. That's, I'd say, the vast majority of things. Eventually got into the social media of things, and that just kind of, I feel like I don't get a ton of just cold inquiries from the social media stuff, but it's more just going back to kind of, it's essentially like my digital farm is kind of what I call it, just kind of keeping those people that I aren't necessarily my friends or necessarily like, I'm in touch with every day, but I kind of am just because I'm in front of them every day or on a consistent basis digitally. So yeah, that's kind of what I've built the basis of what I do on
You
things.
do a really good job of showing what you're doing on social media, which is, I think, is kind of a step that a lot of agents miss. They want to just show everything on social media that is like in a nice little neat package, and you deliver like this is how life really is, and this is what's happening, this is what I'm doing, and especially showing you in your farm on your social media only just connects the two even better, which I think that is just like the bow on top. How long ago did you decide to go all in on your farm? And what are all of the different marketing channels that you're doing in your farm? So, are you door knocking? Are you doing mailers? Are you doing events and open houses? Like everything that you're doing in your farm. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my farm started as just the 300 homes. I actually live within my farm. So it started with just the 300 homes within like my little HOA. And I started to do that. And I felt that I could do it on a consistent basis. And I expanded and expanded. Ultimately, it just makes geographic sense. Like it stops at like a highway, but basically it's about 1,500 homes on this kind of like this block that again kind of borders on a highway. So I started on my little farm probably, gosh, 11 years ago, maybe 12 at this point. Just kind of with that 300 homes, and then just slowly expanded. And I've been full out on the 1,500 homes for probably 7 of those years now. So pretty long period of time. Um, and some of the pillars that I utilize are door hangers. So I don't door knock just because I know how consistent I'm going to be in front of these in front of these people and on their front doorstep. I personally don't love it when people come and knock and have some type of sales pitch to come at me. So I kind of just come at more of like a passive, like I'm here when you need me perspective, and I'm constantly there on their front porch. Back when before I had kids and was less busy, I guess you could say, like it was a monthly thing. Every single month I would have something on their door. That's slowed down a little bit, and we'll get into it, but that's kind of how the newsletter has come into effect for me. But I couldn't be knocking on their doors every single day. One, just the time that takes, it would take all month to, if not more, to knock and get a response on all those. But two, just I didn't want to become an annoyance to the community. I just wanted to become like a resource, and but know that I will be there, and I am there consistently. So that's a big thing. Door hangers, and that comes in many fashions, whether it's a notepad, whether it's an actual door hanger with talking about a just sold listing, whether it's delivering some sort of informational value that might have context to say interest rates, what's going on with those things. Sometimes I've partnered with local businesses where we kind of co-brand and offer a coupon on the door hanger, different things like that. Market updates, either the activity of solds in the community, different things like that. So those have been kind of the things, as well as mailers, kind of less often, just because I like to be in front of them, and also like just from a cost efficiency standpoint, like I can get door hangers in front of the people a lot cheaper than I can the mailers, and I think they deliver like a tactile value as well, because at least you have to pick it up off your porch, and that's the only piece of paper that you're holding, and then you throw it away, as opposed to the 10 pieces of mail that you're throwing away.
Yeah.
Definitely want to do both, but yeah, that's kind of how I see that. And then additionally to the mail stuff and the hard copy things, yeah, just the social media, the YouTube channel, just kind of focusing on local content, and as well as market updates. So again, I used to do market updates weekly back when like COVID started. I started doing weekly market updates every single week, do a video, slowed those down to a monthly video, and then with that, it's enabled me to kind of bring a more professional approach to that video, put some marketing dollars on it on YouTube. And then I like to just like I like to put when I'm farming on my social media, I like to integrate my YouTube video in the form of a QR code on some of my door hangers or my mailers, so that I'm kind of cross pollinating those two different sources together. So yeah.
Yes, we love to hear that. So Thomas is amazing at creating reels on social media. This is how he kind of caught our attention by using our newsletter. And the newsletter membership is one of my absolute favorite things that we create. And my hands are on it every single month. I love the articles that we put in there. And I do think that it is something that is truly packed full of resources. And we try to make it to be where it can be for sellers or buyers. And so Thomas has been amazing at creating these reels, showing how he delivers it to his farm, setting it on the doorsteps. Well, let's just start with that. What kind of caught your eye about it and made you think, I'm going to start doing this?
So it's kind of twofold. The newsletter thing, back when I was at this boutique brokerage in the early 2010, 2011, we did a newsletter every month. And this was like a 11 by 18 or whatever the folding size is, essentially the same size, right? And it was just paper. It was all black and white, and it had silly articles, some jokes, but then it had informative things and stuff like that. Usually there'd be a recipe, like your typical
Mhm.
stuff, right? So we did this back in the day, and I always liked the idea, maybe not necessarily all of the content, but I like the idea that this periodical would be received from your realtor every single month, right? So I'd constantly been like kind of on the search for something like that for quite a while, to be honest. And I just didn't never found like the right product. I think that what made this one great is like I could change things up. I have experience with Canva, so it was just like super easy to be able to change things up. And I do that often. I do change things, maybe get rid of an article to integrate something that is more important to me or my community or something like that. So that was super helpful. And then so that came from that, but wanting to commit to it was for the past few years, for my what I call my like top 100, is previous clients that I've done business with, and it's not necessarily 100 people. It's more now, but it's people that I've done business with, or plan to do business with, or have referred, or have a close relationship with. But um, I wanted to get something to them on a monthly basis and not be salesy. So a few years back, I started with postcards, and they would be more not necessarily inspirational, aspirational, but just more like kind of perspectives on where things were in the industry. And then that would be 1 year, and then the next year I'd kind of go with a different theme. And again, that would be more aspirational, just kind of my experience on what's going on just in the world in general, and less like real estate and more just like life. And then I basically just transferred that postcard monthly thing into the newsletter because I wanted something more substantial than, the postcard. So that's kind of how I kind of found my way to the newsletter and started with that. So
I love hearing that because I think sometimes people think that they can't change it or that they might mess it up if they change it. And that's not the case at all. We really create these templates to where agents can go in and put their personality on it. We want you to do that. And also, just we live in Kansas and we can't, I guess that doesn't really matter, but we can't really design one template that really speaks to every single region in the world because we sell worldwide, however, but United States especially. And so we very much want people to come in and personalize it, especially for your area. Sometimes we get people in like, especially specific areas like coastal towns, that type of thing, where the imagery might be a little bit different. And that's okay. We want you to switch out the images. We love seeing it when people redesign what we've made, and I love actually seeing what everyone does with it because I think everyone has different perspectives and different eyes. And so I just want to commend you for doing that and still just being out there with it and promoting it like you have. I just obsessed with it.
yeah,
um,
I actually have like two audiences that it gets sent out to. I have my farm, which is in a very specific city and area, and then I have, like I said, my what I call my top 100, and they're all over the place. They're not even within one county necessarily. They're all over the place. So I can't put the city statistics on what's sold in Chino for those people. So I actually typically have two separate pieces, or I try and generalize it more maybe to the state or nationally or something like that as far as specific statistics. So yeah, I modify it for those reasons too.
the one that you're sending to your top 100, are you mailing those or are you also physically taking those?
I'm mailing those.
Okay.
I found a great printer that will print those for me. They do a fold. They do a little sticker, a clear sticker to keep it shut, and then the address is on there, and they just send it out to the printer, and then they mail it for me. So it's super reasonable in cost and time, super time efficient for me because that's a lot to do. So I just send them the final draft of the newsletter, and they know what to do from there. So that's been a good thing for me.
So tell me, what is the biggest result that you've seen from delivering these newsletters?
So it's tough for me because I've farmed my farm for so many years. So it's tough to pinpoint a specific marketing product, whatever it may be. And same with my top 100. I'm in touch with them on a very consistent basis. Um, I don't know for a fact, and I'll have to
Okay.
ask them because I've worked with them for a long time, but it just so happened that I want to say it was month two, like February, because I just started in January with you guys, and I want to say it was February, and right after that, like within the week of sending it out, and I know that it hit them. They live in Hawaii. I know that it hit them. I get the text saying, "Hey, like they had a rental property in my area. Hey, we're looking to offload this property." Boom, boom, boom. So I'm confident that because it just came out of so out of the blue that it made
Yeah.
sense to me that might have been just it wasn't the one thing that just got them, but it might have just been that spark that said, "Oh yeah, by the way," the wife said, "Hey, by the way, text Thomas," or something like that, right? So that's a huge thing. Just today, just this morning before we jumped on, I was in my farm delivering the newsletters, and I came across a guy. And at first, he thought I was a solar rep, right? And people are like,
Oh
"Hey,
gosh.
go away!" Like, we don't need solar or whatever. So at first, he's like, "I'm good," and then he kind of saw who I was because he's seen me over the years. And I just said, "Hey, I've just got my quarterly newsletter for you." And then immediately, it was just like just disengaged from like that defensive because that's always been my approach. Like, I'm here to give you something of value. I'm like not going to ask you if you want to sell your house today. That's just not what I'm going to do. I'm gonna deliver something for you. And he's like, "Oh yeah, anything. Thomas Ryan, like, yeah, for sure. Come on." Like, so
I
those
love
are
that.
yeah, those are some of the things that it just kind of comes from a place of value, giving them something tactile and something for them to utilize. So those have been some big wins.
So what has been the most challenging part about staying consistent in this marketing plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, with anything in this business, like you get like deterred. You see someone else take a listing in your farm, right? And it's like, why didn't they call me? Where did this come from? And actually, that's how I got my very first listing in my farm was I was, probably was 2 months in, so I'd done a couple pieces, something like that, and all of a sudden this new listing came up in my neighborhood, and I just like took it personally. I was like, "What? Like, why didn't they call me? Like I'm the one, right?" And so that day, like on my way home from the office, I'm like, "Okay, I'm getting out." And within 10 houses, I got my very first listing in the neighborhood. The guy's like working on his motorcycle. He's like, "Oh yeah, like I'd like to sell, boom, boom." And since then, because of the consistency with working with my top 100, I've done like 5 transactions with this guy.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, and so it's just it's trying to like not feel defeated when other agents like take listings within your farm. We live in a unique area where, like I said, we're kind of in the middle of a lot of different counties. So there'll be, and just kind of the nature of how California is right now with real estate agents is like people go where the business is. Everybody knows an agent. There's, I don't know how many agents there are in the state of California, but there's a lot. So everybody knows at least three. And so it's a family friend and it's random people coming from out of the area to list homes in your farm. And that can be super defeating. So I say that's the biggest challenge is just being like, hey, like, yeah, it might have been their cousin. Like that's just gonna happen. There's nothing you could do about it. There's no amount of marketing. You just gotta, meet the next person, and do that. So that I'd say that's the biggest challenge for me. It's just like that inner battle of like, why didn't I get the call?
Yeah, I agree. I was always taking it too personally as well, but I agree with you though. It probably was a cousin that they just absolutely had to use. I want to talk about printing. So when you deliver it to your farm, are you having your printer print those and the ones that you're mailing? How many do you print? How long does it take? Kind of give me a little background. That is one of the biggest
Yeah,
questions that we do
yeah,
get is how do people print? So I want it to come from you, who is
yeah.
doing it, of how you like physically, logistically do it.
So I actually have two separate printers because one for the one that does the mail out, because they do that whole back end thing. The other printer just does bulk printing for very cheap, and that's kind of their wheelhouse, right? So with them, I do for my farm, and that's 1,500. Okay, so I have them print 1,500 for me. They live close by. They're with it's called. I'll give them a plug. It's called cheapercopies.com. Just random, like, just that's the most generic name you could look. They just randomly happen to be within my city. It's the craziest thing. So, and that the notepads too. Leighton Notepads is the company I get them from. I think a lot of people get them from for everywhere, and they're like the next city over, so I can personally pick them up as opposed to shipping. It's just kind of wild. But so I get them printed 1,500. They take probably. I usually order them very early and then it's not super time sensitive because I do them quarterly. So I don't do monthly for the farm just because I can't deliver
Yeah,
them every single
that
month.
would be a lot.
So I pick one of the say January through March, right? I pick which one I think it would work best for when I'm going to be delivering them and utilize that template. So for instance, the one I'm delivering right now, I want to say is the August newsletter, and that's for like the third quarter. And then as we get into the fourth quarter, I'll probably pick like maybe November or something like that, and that's about when I'll be delivering them. So yeah, so that's how I do it there. And then on the top 100 side, the ones that are mailed out, different printer, and I kind of talked about how how we do those things, and they are super fast. It's not a big number. It's less than 200, more than 100. So it's not a huge number that are being mailed out. So I can literally send it to them, and within 48 hours, they will have them at the postal service going out. I received one of them as like a sample, and
Yeah,
I see how fast it happens. So,
that's great.
yeah, it took some searching. I actually found them through my title rep just because they kind of heard some things, and they've been a good resource. So.
Are you selling any type of advertisements inside of your newsletter to help with cost carrying or anything like that?
I'm not. I've definitely thought of the idea of kind of going back to like the door hangers that I've done, where I've done kind of like a cross promotional thing, and less to get the coverage cost. I think when I did one of those, I did get like we paid half on the thing, and I delivered it. So I was doing the bulk of the work. I got everything together, but obviously they were giving a discount for their service as well, so it worked out. I'm
Mhm.
not selling any advertising in my newsletter. I have thought of the idea of doing like an insert for a local business or something with a coupon or something. And really, that, from my perspective, it's just adding more value to the person that's receiving the newsletter is my goal there. Less about like getting the cost down necessarily, although that could be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if an agent were to want to start right today to do it, okay, we're going to pick up the newsletter. I'm going to start delivering this to my farm. What is the one step you think that they should start at? They decided they're going to do it. They got the template. Now what? What's the first step?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to have some familiarity with Canva, but it's so easy to use. But yeah, I'd say just like get it downloaded, kind of play with it a little bit. Don't get overly bogged down in like
Yeah.
the creativity. Actually, my first month that I did it, I left the generic name of the newsletter. I can't remember what it's called now because I've changed it
I
now,
think it just
but
says house.
that's his house. So I just left that. I was like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just like it's simple. So I left that. And then I was like, okay, I need to personalize. So then month two, I call it the Ryan report now. So
I love that.
yeah, so that's how I like changed it. And it's like no one knew. It's not like over
Right.
that
They're
course of
not
this
like analyzing back and forth.
analyzing it. And I've integrated my logo my logo and a QR code at the bottom left corner of it because there's an empty
Yes.
space on there on every newsletter. So I was like, okay, this is a good place for that. And then on the very back, like I've slowly kind of integrated these customizations, but really the bulk of it is perfect the way it is. And then, oftentimes there's a house of the week or listing of the week. Like you're gonna have to make those modifications, but just get it done, get it, simply done. And then yeah, just kind of find that printer. Like I said, I asked around at my title rep. Maybe there's agents in your office that you can ask around. They're all over the place, whether they're local or more like national, depending upon what you're going to use them for and how many. The more you order from, you might be able to find something online that you're going to find for cheaper. But if you want them like right away, you're going to find someone closer that will do a smaller quantity as well. So.
Yeah, we highly recommend calling and even visiting some of the printers because one, visiting them, it's really neat to see the process, but you get to know your printer even better. And that is a really important relationship, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of print marketing, because sometimes if you need something really fast, you can pick up the phone and be like, hey, I am so sorry I missed this deadline, but I gotta have this. And if you have that relationship there, and if you're consistent with that relationship, they will pull strings for you. And I've
Yeah.
absolutely called in favors before for that. And that is a very important relationship to have.
Yeah,
Okay,
makes
I
sense.
have two more questions.
Yeah.
Is there any one like hack? And I don't mean like this is like the easy button, but like, man, if I would have known this when I started, it would have been a little bit easier. Do you have anything like that you could maybe share?
On like the newsletter specifically, or what do you
Yeah, let's do the newsletter and then maybe that and then maybe the farm in general.
got it? So I'd say as far as like the newsletters with Canva and stuff like that, and there's a ton that I have no idea about, guaranteed. But just like copying and pasting things from, I'll pull up the new newsletter and I'll pull up a browser with the old newsletter, one that I've previously edited or whatever. And I will say at the bottom, because it has like an agent's picture and their contact information stuff. I get all that out of there, deleted, and then I'll just take the old newsletter, the previous month that I've edited, copy it, paste into the new one, and it pastes it exactly in the location where it was in the old one. So you don't have to like drag it to the right position or anything like that. Just a lot of that copy and paste stuff it seems super simple, but it saves you a lot of time because I would play with them, because they come different month to month, the way that the agent information is at the bottom. And yes, it's nice to have some variety for them, but for me, it just made it simplified to just be able to copy, paste, and then it shows up the same way too. Because I'm about consistently, I like showing up the same way. I wear the same polo or shirt like everywhere in everything. I like showing up the same way. I just don't mind that looking exactly the same. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my pretty easy hack as far as that's concerned.
That's a perfect one because we even do that. Like just as designers, I swear my hand is on my mouse and then I have my two on my copy paste and undo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That undo button is just as important as that paste. But you're right. It does, when you copy and paste, a lot of people don't know that, but that you can take one design open in one window and copy something from that and go to a whole different window in a completely different design and paste it. And it'll even if it is a different size, it'll actually do the best it can to resize, but it'll still put it in that same spot too. And that is such a time saver. That's a great hack. I love that one. Okay, now give me one for if you were just looking at your farm in general.
Farm in general, I think it's just starting, right? I mean, the way I started was I like I said, I lived in the farm. I saw that I wasn't receiving anything on a consistent basis at all from anybody, if anything, from an agent in the area. So that was a easy entry for me to know that okay, there's an opportunity here. And really just started putting stuff out there, right? Like it doesn't have to be the perfect piece necessarily. It's just
Yeah.
something. I always try and come from a piece of value. Yes, you want to like celebrate your sale in the community or something like that, but celebrate it in the way that it shows homeowners that the values in their neighborhood are growing as opposed to like, look what I did type thing, So coming from value, that like I always have that as like the forefront of when I'm putting a piece, is having some value for home sellers, whether it's a coupon or it's informative, right? Like that has value too. So that's what I'd say. And just
That's the exact mindset that I had when I started the newsletter. And I've always just thought, you know what, I'm going to give before I ask. And so the newsletter was the way that I was giving. And so then I was like, well, let's just keep going because I love the newsletter. And I think it is an easy way to give really great information before you ask. So it's just kind of like a warm up before that ask. The one thing you said something about the bottom of the newsletters. So I try when we're designing it, we try to switch them out. I think we kind of try to do it towards the seasons. And so it's usually pretty quarterly, and then it's usually like a spring and a fall. And then in the winter, we usually just do kind of more of just a normal footer, I guess, instead of the seasons. But that's kind of where that comes from.
yeah.
Okay, so what is next for you? Is there something new you want to add to your farm? Is there a new form of marketing that you think that you want to try? What do you think that you're going to do next?
I'm always looking to do new things. I like to integrate as much video. For about 2.5 years, I've taken a short break from it just because of life and time as far as that's concerned. But I did like a local segment called we live in the city of Chino and Chino Hills are two neighboring cities that I mainly service. And I put together a segment called Chino and the Hills Secrets Exposed, where I do videos about unique things throughout the city. And I did about 100 segments of it. I'm gonna get back into it, but so that's one thing I definitely want to expand upon. But as speaking of the newsletter specifically, one thing that I wanted to expand upon as another target audience for it, because I have this thing, I might as well like broadcast as much as possible, is I want to get it like into like whether it's doctors' offices or taekwondo, like places, just different places throughout the city. I like to just provide it for them there. So then it's like a piece of reading material
Absolutely.
for people like in different places. So I don't know if you've ever had anybody utilize it for those types of things, but I thought that that would be a nice thing for one, the business itself, just to have something kind of different and super local, but then obviously it's expanded to an audience that it wouldn't have gotten out to. That's something I've definitely thought about integrating as a as another form to utilize the newsletter.
Would you think that it would be beneficial if we potentially say like put a whole quarter's worth of newsletters together and made it a little bit larger to where then you could make it like printed a little bit more like a news or a magazine? This
Yeah,
is just an example. This is our just an event guide, but this is the magazine printed off of Canva.
right.
And it seems to be a really nice size. It's not too big, not too little. Canva is very expensive, so that wouldn't be where you wanted to print it. But if we combined all of our newsletters for a quarter, you could have something maybe about this size
Yeah.
that could then sit. You could, only print maybe 3 or 4 for an office because they're not going to go through that many. An idea that we can consider and make it a little bit more of a magazine instead of just the newsletter style too, that
Yeah.
maybe it would sit there a little bit longer.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Love that idea. Okay, Thomas, that's definitely something that we will consider to make out for you.
One thing I wanted to mention too is some of the content that I've done like on Instagram is I have the Meta glasses. So I'll be out
I've
delivering
seen
I'll be out delivering them, and if I come across someone, like I'll pop it on record. And I've had some really nice shockingly, I've had some really nice interactions with homeowners again because of the notion that they kind of have a familiarity with who I am and things like that. But like just being super appreciative of me bringing this to them and just constantly bringing information to them. So that's been kind of reassuring. I get a lot more positive interactions because of the consistency over the years than I do negative ones. Again, it's my approach. I'm not like knocking. It's just if I see you in
Yeah.
the driveway or I see you on the, getting your mail, like that's where the interaction happens. That's been a kind of fun thing to do and a fun thing to share online because it shows that I'm working. It shows I'm in the business without like saying like, hey, I'm a realtor. It's saying I'm a realtor, in kind of a unique, fun way. So that's always been my approach is to Gary Vaynerchuk's point, right? Like document, don't create. Like document what you are doing. So yes, I'm farming, and the farm will see when they receive these pieces, they'll receive the farm pieces, and that's part of the farming. But then it's also I'm documenting that I'm farming, and the digital farm will see that as well. So I'm kind of like, in my eyes at least, kind of doing a double farm at the same time.
All right, Thomas. Well, is there anything else that you want to ask or say to me since you have me on the line or anything? Is there anything that you want us to create that we haven't created or
I don't know. I feel like as much as I've utilized things, I probably haven't even dipped my toe in kind of the bulk of things. But no, it's like I said, it's something I had searched for that this newsletter in particular for quite some time, and it just because you can find generic newsletters out there, right? And it could be for any industry type thing. So that this was hyper focused on like deliverable content that's like relevant to now was super valuable. So it
great.
made sense for me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you. I appreciate you doing all the work that you're doing out there and just setting a good example. And keep going.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Keep letting us know. Keep tagging us. We love it.
All right, yeah, we'll do. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Thomas. Have a great day.
You as well. Thanks.
Okay. Bye bye.